So now that we're talking about elimination diet, let's talk about the foods we're going to eliminate. So we just talked about oils, right? So when you cut out the oils, you're going to eliminate inflammation a lot. Processed oils are found in not just, potatoes and French fries. We're talking fast food, burgers. We're talking anything from a restaurant, that's made to order. Anything that you don't see what's going on your plate, you got to imagine they're probably using a cheaper version unless specified. And just go with that assumption. They're probably not using what you're using at home. I'm just being honest, okay? So then let's kick that up a notch, right? If the processed oils, then the next thing we'd probably say is two things like the easy ones, or like dairy. Like you got to cut out dairy. And if you haven't heard this by now, dairy is not that great for you, okay? Dairy is not necessarily meant for us to consume all the time, if ever, because the way that dairy is processed and made now, and the way that it gets from the farm to your plate or your glass is not the way it used to be. It's very different. It's very unhealthy, and it's very much a dark place sometimes if you think about it. And so I don't want to get into it right now, but just understand that the way that you have to get that milk from that cow in order to get on your plate or in your food is not a very good, sustainable method. And that shows up in the way that you function and how you feel afterwards if you ingest cheese or cow milk. And if you don't believe me, take it out of your diet for this next week and see how you feel. Just from eliminating milk alone, you should probably notice a huge difference. Now, I have a big problem with corn and soy. Corn and soy are two of the most GMO'd or genetically modified organisms, and you have a good substitute for most of the preservatives to be a corn derivative or soy derivative. And both of those have no nutrients, and they basically have a lot of damage when they're broken down in the body. The soy, yes, I know, understand it makes estrogen, but for most people it doesn't, because there's too many other factors that go into play. So if they're really GMO, which almost 95% of most of corn and soy is, I don't want GMOs going into my body, which are very hard for my body to break down and digest. And when it comes to our fuel, if my body doesn't understand what fake foods and preservatives are, like, GMO corn and soy, then the body doesn't break it down. And if you don't believe me, go to the bathroom next time after you eat some corn or some popcorn and see what it looks like, especially in the toilet. Like, I hate to be sick, but be honest, right? It's gonna look the same because you didn't break it down. You didn't digest it. And years and years and years of a basic diet in the American society we grew up in has taught us that corn and soy and bread and grains like rice are a basic foundation of our diet. And I'm here to tell you that that's not the case anymore. It should not ever been taught the case. Grains, dairy, corn, now soy, all those things need to be cut out of your diet. The processed trans fats and the corn oils and the vegetable oils, those are gone too. We talked about gluten. I'll get on it in a second, but by now gluten-free is much better for you. But I'm going to tell you right now what the biggest culprit is. The best thing that you could ever do for your body right now and to eliminate this very second is the thing that causes heart disease every year and diabetes to increase. It's sugar. You need to eliminate sugar like it's the most important thing you could do today. Because sugar, especially processed sugar, which is the biggest problem with heart disease and diabetes and kidney disease and brain health, when you have processed sugar going into your body, you have inflammation all throughout your body. And that leads to weight gain. But if you always put a lot of sugar into your diet, which I'm not just talking about processed sugar, I'm talking about processed carbohydrates, because it's the same thing. Yes, carbs, any carbs, I don't care if it's gluten-free, carbs are sugars, and they get broken down in the body the same way. And when you put a lot of sugar in your body, it causes a lot of inflammation and a lot of things to go bad. And if you do it for a long time, like 20, 30 years, especially with the processed ingredients that are in our cereals and our boxes and our canned goods now, in our restaurants, all those things are hard to break down, and it causes your weight gain and it causes long-term inflammation. You need to cut out those things that are on that list right now, but sugar is the first thing that you need to get rid of. And if you don't know how to look for it, first of all, anything that's sweet, you got to cut that out right now, because I'm sure there's sugar in it, because the sugar's in everything, right? And then you look at the ingredients on the back, and the first ingredient is sugar or processed sugar or somehow disguised as sugar, high fructose corn syrup, all those things down there, you take that out. And if you don't know how to read nutritional labels, then guess what? You're back to real food again. Just eat real food, and you won't have to worry about sugar.